So I just got done watching the second episode of the brand new season of Doctor Who called The Devil's Chord. And wow, a lot of interesting details were revealed in this episode. Spoilers ahead because there's a lot to break down. And with that all out of the way.
Come with me and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look and you'll see into your imagination.
I gotta say, this is another solid episode. There was an interesting story. We got to see the Beatles. We get more insight into who Ruby is. We don't really know what her thing about her is, like what's the deal with her mystery, like in her origin and stuff, but we got a bit more hints at what she can be. There's something weird going on with her and music and Christmas and snow. We get to see more character development for the Doctor and Ruby's relationship. The performances I felt like were a lot better in this episode. It feels like the actors are getting more comfortable into their roles. We also got to see the Doctor and Ruby wear some pretty cool outfits, very 60s. It was very hip for them. And yeah, it was just a solid episode. The Doctor had some really good performances in this episode. And one thing I really have to highlight, this was the best part of the entire episode. And I was so happy when this was mentioned. A specific character was mentioned in this episode, and it was Susan. We finally get a Susan mention, folks. Just round of applause. Round of applause. That's all I gotta say. Like, oh my God. When I heard Susan's name, I was like cheering. Like, thank God we got a Susan mention. I've been wanting to hear Susan's name for a really long time. I think the last time the Doctor mentioned Susan was when he was the 12th Doctor, and it was just the fact that she was mentioned and a little bit of details were told about like what happened to her. He's like, he doesn't know what happened to her. He thinks she's dead. I'm guessing this is a tease to possibly getting Susan back. Doctor and reunite with Susan. This is like a bucket list of mine as a Doctor Who fan, seeing the Doctor reunite with his granddaughter, and I just loved that scene. That was the best part of the episode, best part of this whole new era of Doctor Who so far. I'm saying that right now. And just the way that Ncuti Gatwa was like talking about Susan, and there was like other moments too, like when he was playing the piano and he was like, I've seen so many things. There's a reason why I can smile. He just feels a lot like the Doctor. And in this episode specifically, he really felt like the Doctor to me, more than ever before. So far, I'm liking this incarnation of the Doctor. I'm hoping he'll grow on me even more. But either way, Ncuti Gatwa is a really brilliant actor. Ruby was a lot of fun in this episode. Millie Gibson felt more comfortable in the role, I felt like you could tell in this episode. Also, I liked the beginning with the Doctor and Ruby, like the way they were like getting changed and they were like dancing out on their way out of the TARDIS. And their interactions with the Beatles, I felt like were pretty good too. Speaking of, we get appearances of the Beatles, mainly Paul McCartney and John Lennon. I don't really get to see much of the other Beatles, which I felt like was pretty disappointing. Just in general, I felt like the way they were used was disappointing. I was expecting a Vincent van Gogh type of episode with them, I guess. I don't know, maybe like a message about like how fame is not what it's cut out to be, and it can ruin your life mentally and physically, and all the psychological issues that could come into being like the biggest band in the entire world. You know, like I wanted to explore some sort of deeper meaning with the Beatles like they did with Vincent van Gogh, but unfortunately we didn't get that. They were barely in this episode, and I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty disappointed by that. And also, I'll go into more negatives now. Maestro, I didn't really like Maestro that much. I felt like Maestro was very over the top. Guessing we're gonna be seeing Maestro again, and we also found out that Maestro is the child of the toy maker, which I wish we just kept the toy maker around, because I felt like Maestro was the toy maker but worse, and Neil Patrick Harris is a great actor. I'm not saying the acting was bad here, I just felt like it was really over the top, and I just didn't really like the villain. It kind of brings down the episode quite a bit because we get a lot of Maestro in this. And also we find out that there's more of the toy maker's children or his army. There's something coming, and it's teased in this episode. So in this episode we get more about Ruby, and we get more about who the big bad, I'm guessing there's going to be a big bad of the season, who that's going to be. I really hope it's not the Master, because I have a bad feeling it's going to be the Master, because we heard that evil laughing in the 60th anniversary. We knew the 60th anniversary was going to set Russell T Davies' new era, and good God, if it's the Master again, I need a break from the Master, like Ross and Rachel from Friends.
We were on a break!
They need a break. They need to go on a break. Doctor Who and the Master need some time apart, because it's just, after the last era and the way they used the Master, I was just so tired of the Master at this point. There's so many other villains. Bring me back the Monk. Bring me back the Ronnie. Hey, maybe there's a plot twist where Susan's the main bad guy. I would be okay with that, honestly. Anything to get Susan onto the show, please. Just, Carol Ann Ford's still alive. Maybe we could bring her back, have her regenerate into another Susan or something. I want to see some Susan. I feel like we're missing out on some really great stories. Also, another highlight of the episode was the fact that no time was children crap was mentioned in this episode. That makes me such a happy Doctor Who fan. No mention of the Doctor being adopted. At least from what I noticed, it wasn't mentioned in the episode. But yeah, this episode, they put that BS off to the side. And I'm pretty sure it's going to come back later in the season because Russell T Davies wants to relate the Doctor to the companion this season. And it's like, look at that, we have some sort of connection because we're both adopted. Yay, woohoo, we both don't know where we come from. Because the Doctor, for some reason, needs to relate to his companion, which I don't think is even that necessary. If anything, I think they had a good idea. Like, you remember the scene where he was like talking about Susan and how he used to have a family? Maybe he could relate to Ruby in that sort of way. Like, he doesn't know where his true family is at and doesn't know where his granddaughter's at. And, like, he kind of feels like he doesn't have a real family. And then Ruby could be like, oh, no, you're my family. We're family or something like that. You know what I mean? There could have been another way to have there be, like, some sort of relatability besides bringing up the timeless child crap. But it wasn't brought up in this episode, fortunately. And Susan was, which made me so happy. So I'm a happy Doctor Who fan. This episode put me a big smile on my face. I kind of want to just give this episode 100% just because Susan was mentioned. And I'm really hoping this is a hint that we're going to see her at some point in this season, get some sort of closure between the Doctor and Susan. Actually, don't even have it be a closure. Bring Susan on continuously throughout the future of this show. Have it be open-ended. Have Susan regenerate into Susan number 2, 3, 4, 5. Or maybe that old lady in the first episode, not the first episode, but from the Christmas special, who broke the fourth wall. Maybe she is Susan in like the 5th incarnation or something like that. Also, one more thing I want to bring up is something I'm just kind of noticing with these episodes is at the end of the episode they broke the fourth wall. This is multiple times now that they've been breaking the fourth wall in Doctor Who. I guess this is some sort of thing that's going to be forever now. It doesn't really bother me. I know it bothers some fans. The breaking of the fourth wall doesn't really bother me. I think the whole musical thing was really dumb, corny, stupid. I guess Russell T Davies really just loves musicals for Doctor Who this season. In the Christmas special, he had Ruby and the Doctor singing, and this episode was all full of music and singing and all that. And I think it's kind of weird for Doctor Who, I'm not going to lie. But he's trying something new and unique. I'm on board for it. It's not that bad. I'd much rather have a musical every episode than ever hear the fact that the Doctor is no longer a true Time Lord and something to do with the timeless child bullcrap. So I'm going to give this episode an 83%. It was better than the first episode, and I honestly liked the first episode. I thought it was pretty fun. This episode had a lot of great moments, and hearing Susan's name being mentioned, hearing the Doctor talk about his family, all such really great moments, and it just made me feel like I'm actually watching the Doctor. Like hearing Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor talk about his family, it just like really felt like I was just watching the Doctor again for the first time in a really long time, not including when we saw the 14th Doctor. I'm talking about like a new face of the Doctor actually feeling like the Doctor, because I did not feel like that for the 13th Doctor. But there are some negative moments, like we had to get a whole lot of Maestro, and I really just did not like that villain in this episode. It just did not work, and it was so over the top. And the musical aspect of this episode was just too much, and I feel like they wasted the Beatles. And we could have had like a Vincent Van Gogh type of episode like we did in Series 5 with this episode, but unfortunately they didn't really capitalize off of it. They just kind of had fun with the musical aspect in this episode. And also we find out more about what the season is going to be about, more with the mystery of Ruby. And yeah, so this episode really moves the show forward in some ways. So yeah, we got another solid episode. I really see a lot of great potential with a lot of the setup that they're doing with this season. And I see a lot of setup that I just kind of find annoying. So I really don't know how this season's going to go for me. I'm just glad to get decent writing again for Doctor Who. Actually, good writing. There's like a lot of good writing moments in Doctor Who. We haven't had good writing in a really long time. In my opinion, from my perspective, the writing's just been unwatchable. But this season is watchable, no matter what. Even with the timeless child stuff that pisses me off to my core. Yeah, this has been a watchable, good writing season with likable characters and actors that have great chemistry with each other, and actually feels like I'm watching the Doctor again. It feels like I'm watching the Doctor who still has like the same morals and the same moral compass and the personality and just the weight on his shoulders all back. I just feel like I'm watching Doctor Who again. So yeah, next week looks pretty interesting. It looks like another episode that's gonna be pretty heavy for Ncuti Gatwa. It looked like he was crying in the next episode, so I can't wait to see some more Doctor tears. I like seeing the Doctor broken. I like seeing the Doctor sad. Just yeah, sorry Doctor, but when you're sad and crying, it's some of the best moments of the entire show.